What is going on, everyone? My name is Jared Haas, and welcome to the Best Seat of the Track. This weekend, we are at Richmond Raceway, and joining us is Virginia natives Adam Cheek. Adam, we just finished up the Xfinity race. What were your thoughts on that race so far? It's pretty mundanest type of racing for the first 240 laps, and then that pretty exciting finish. What was your perspective on that race?
Well, it's honestly kind of feels like it's part of the course for Richmond because you have some of these mundane races and then it gets exciting near the end and that kind of saves the race. I feel like that's the way it was today. Pretty uneventful, one debris caution. The only other yellows were for stage breaks. And then you have John Hunter Nemechek and Ty Gibbs who basically dominated the entire afternoon. It came down to both of them. Nemechek started running him down. They got side by side. Nemechek gets by. Gives him the bump and run. And as Denny Hamlin said, that's short track racing, which it is. And Ty Gibbs ends up winning and continues his kind of, I don't want to say domination, but his very, very good early parts of the season. Couple wins already for that 54 team.
Yeah, Joe Gibbs Racing is pretty dominant in that Xfinity series. And another driver that's been dominant this past weekend, finally got his first career win, was Ross Chastain. In the previous 4 races, he scored 4 top 3 finishes, which is quite impressive. And I asked him after the race at COTA, I said, do you view yourself as a championship contender? He said, well, this car can be very volatile, but this team, Trackhouse Racing, is taking notice on their strong performance, especially after Phoenix, for example, or Las Vegas. So my question is to you, with this consistency and the variety of tracks that Chastain has performed well, I mean, we got from road courses to Las Vegas. Do you view as Ross Chastain as someone who can contend for the championship and get pretty far in the postseason, or do you think this is more of a flash in the pan type of stuff?
Well, I pride myself on kind of pinpointing Trackhouse early on last year because Suarez was performing really well for someone who had bounced around for a few years, kind of struggling to find a place to land, and for Trackhouse, which was in their first year. And I was like, okay, I think they're going to do really well in 2022 with the Ganassi acquisition, getting Ross, having a 2-car team. And I'm sure that helped work out a lot of the kinks early on with the next gen car. They had 2 drivers to go off of. And Ross really impressing me this past month, honestly. He's not someone I would have pegged as a road course racer. He goes out there and wins COTA, and he's shown speed everywhere. He finished first in one of the qualifying rounds before getting knocked off the pole. I don't know if I'd pin him as a championship contender quite yet, but he's someone I think that will go at least 1, maybe 2 rounds into the playoffs, maybe the round of 8. And Trackhouse as a whole, I think we're going to see them winning multiple races with both drivers as the year goes on.
That's going to be my follow-up question to this, too, is how many more races of Chastain performing well do you put him then as a championship contender? I mean, we saw Larson, he won a race early on, then all of a sudden it was the summer of Larson winning those consecutive races. When do you see Chastain being a championship contender? How many more wins do you see?
Well, first of all, I think both of them are going to perform well this weekend. Yeah, we could see back-to-back Trackhouse that Suarez gets his first win and Trackhouse is second. But I think it's going to be, I'd put it at maybe Ross scoring even just another win, because I think another win is going to be a huge confidence boost for that one team. And you tack on Suarez as well, getting 1 win, I would pin him as someone who could go a couple of rounds in the playoffs. I don't know if I'd pin him as a championship contender, but for me to do that, I'd say Ross would have to, extend this streak a few more weeks of the top 3 finishes, and the team as a whole, that one team to get 2, 3, maybe 4 wins on the season. Because Ross, last year was his first full year. I'm sure he's still getting used to the next gen car, but he seems to have warmed up to it a lot quicker than a lot of people. So
they are definitely rolling.
3 or 4 wins.
Yeah, I agree. They're definitely rolling, and I think they can be on that verge of being a championship contender. I think they can go to the round of 8 as their team right now. And I want to talk about the flip side, though. We see Trackhouse Racing rolling, having these great finishes between Suarez and Ross Chastain. On the other side, you have a team that's kind of been more of a powerhouse that's been struggling with Joe Gibbs Racing, especially this weekend with Denny Hamlin. He said 2 laps, we're going to know what's going on. didn't really perform well in practice and wasn't really that much in contention in qualifying. How much of a concern are you for Joe Gibbs Racing, considering this has been the house they built, especially in the past, like I said, it's 5 or 6 years that Toyota has won here at Richmond?
Well, I'd wait to get my verdict on that until after this race because I went into this race with a lot of confidence in them because it is their home track. It is the Toyota track, if you want to call it that. It's where Truex has won a bunch of races. He's won like 3 of the last 5. Denny Hamlin was dominant here for a while. Still's good here. Nearly won the spring race last year. Kyle Busch, of course, he's had his share of dominance. Truex swept in 2019, Busch in 2018. This is the weekend where I think we'll really – actually, I take that back. I'd say these next 2 weeks because Kyle's won at Martinsville, Truex has won at Martinsville, Hamlin's won at Martinsville. These 2 Virginia tracks are going to be where we see kind of where Joe Gibbs Racing is at because it hasn't been a good start for them. It hasn't been a great opening to the next-gen era for this team that's won a bunch of titles. I don't know, but I think these 2 weekends, Richmond and Martinsville, are going to be the barometer for how Joe Gibbs Racing approaches the rest of the season and how they perform.
I absolutely agree with that. This is going to be critical for them, especially for Denny Hamlin, who was a few years ago was looking as a championship favorite. Now he's in the outside looking in. And Adam, we're going to get to our favorite part of the week. It's the picks, our picks to race. So let me get the standings up here real quick. Adam, last weekend I was at the track with Steven and I got Larson. I picked Larson. Didn't do too well. Chase Elliott had a pretty good run with 4th place. So you guys at the at-track guest, you gained another point against me. Adam, I'm going to still start with you. There's a lot of interesting things going on, especially that pole sitter Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney used to hate Richmond, and now on the pole, was running fast practice laps, was constantly on the top for 5, 10, 15, 20 lap averages during practice. Who are you picking to win at Richmond and celebrating at the end of the night?
I think I'm going to go with I think I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin just because I'm going to retain that confidence in Gibbs to find their stride and get this next-gen car figured out. I'm going to go with them for this weekend and go Denny Hamlin. Blaney's a very tempting pick because the way he ended last season gave me a lot of confidence now that 12 team can perform. But I think I'm going to stick with Gibbs guys and go with Denny Hamlin, the Virginia native, to get his first win of the season and kind of finally start digging himself out of that points hole or that hole in general that he's in the season because that 11 team has not had a ton to smile about in 2022.
Yeah, I can't argue. I think I agree with you in the same camp that since this is Joe Gibbs' playground, it is hard to go against him. But I don't see Denny Hamlin's speed and confidence to be able to get to a win. But I'm looking to Kyle Busch actually winning. I know the last time I picked Kyle Busch was at Atlanta. He performed quite well and then until he got wrecked out. But I think Kyle Busch has had the speed this season compared to the other Joe Gibbs cars. I think is probably the best Joe Gibbs car that's out there. I think this is the weekend that they close it out and he finally gets a win. Adam, it was great to have you on here. And from everyone here on Frontstretch.com, make sure to subscribe. It really helps out getting that content to you. Have a great race weekend.